Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to look at the impact of community colleges. Now let's think about this. Nearly 30% of U.S. undergraduates are enrolled in a public 2-year community college. Okay. Why is that the case? Is it just because it costs less? I don't think so. Community colleges offer everyone a life-altering opportunity. And today we're going to talk about that impact. We're going to find out how it does this. My guest today is Marciano Perez, and he is the Vice President of Student Services at San Diego City College. Now, his program, and I've spoke with him before, his program lets every student, regardless of their circumstances, know that they belong, that they have a safe place, and they're wanted. Marciano, welcome to Life Altering Events.
Thank you for having me here. Really appreciate the invitation.
Marciano, tell the viewers around the world here a little bit about your background, because I found your story so intriguing.
Thank you. So again, Marciano Perez, I currently serve as the Vice President of Student Services at San Diego City College. I was born and raised in Gary, Indiana, to parents who migrated to the United States from Puerto Rico. There's a lot of folks in Gary that because of the steel mills that are there and factories. So grew up what I would call pretty poor, even though I never knew that I was poor. That was never a term that I associated with myself. I really didn't get to learn about words like class or race or ethnicity until I went to college. And I tell folks that, I went to college by accident because education was something my parents heavily talked about and encouraged us to go, because neither of them had even graduated from high school, yet alone college, and they certainly didn't know how to navigate the college experience. But I was real fortunate that in high school I was part of the Upper Bound program, so I was part of Trio Upper Bound, and that really was my first place that got to talk to me about what college was going to be like and kind of prepared me for what to kind of expect in terms of filling out a FAFSA application, something that my parents certainly did not know how to do or why we did that. And, they knew that college cost money, but there was no way of them really understanding, once you get a loan, you got to pay it back. And what does that mean? But as I mentioned, I grew up in Gary, so what I thought was a very diverse community. My high school was pretty much 80% African American, 20% Latino. There was, that I recall, one student that was not Black or Latino in our entire high school. And then I went away to college to Denison University in Granville, Ohio, which was very, very, very different than what I had come from. I think that was the first time that I learned about words like affirmative action, racism, class, what it meant, in terms of where I finally began to understand what I didn't have, the access that I didn't have when I was in high school, that I wish that I wish that someone had explained that to me, and which is why I think the community college is such a beautiful place, because it really gives folks an opportunity to experience and prepare them for those folks that want to transfer to a 4-year. It gives them an opportunity to really experience and get their feet grounded before they go into a 4-year.
Now, when we spoke before, I looked at your career. You started in education in high school, at a high school level. And then you were at 2 of the University of California schools, the big elite, prestigious UC schools, before you joined San Diego City College. So what did you see at each level? What were the big differentiators for you?
Yeah, so I started my career working at a residential high school for students gifted in math, science, and humanities, one that was in Indiana and one that was in Aurora, Illinois. And these were schools with some of the top high school students in each of those states, and they knew that they were going to go to college, right? So they understood that they were special. They understood that they had a gift and a talent. in education. And so for them, they were going to go to college. So after working in the high school environment for a couple of years, I decided that I really wanted to work with college students again, because that's where my high school students were going. And so I went to Ball State University in Indiana and got my master's in higher ed administration, and then took a job working at the University of California, Davis first. I worked there for a couple of years in residential education, and then made my way down the state of California to the prestigious University of California, San Diego, where I spent a little over 16 and a half, almost 17 years there, working again in residential education. So I was the associate dean of students and the director of residence life for one of the undergraduate colleges there. And as you can imagine, the UC system is one that takes, the top 12% of all California students are eligible to attend the University of California. It is highly selective. There are lots of students that apply every year and don't get in. There are students that, they bank their dreams on going to a UC and only to have it, kind of crushed during the admissions process. And so after working many, many years in the UC system, and I thought I would retire from the UC system, I got the opportunity to apply for a position here at San Diego City College as the Dean of Students. And I never thought that I would leave, but I had always told folks that I would only leave when my job started to feel like a job. And I would say that it started in those last years to feel that way. And I started to notice things, there are things like we talked a lot about access, but we weren't really practicing access in the same way that I saw in the community colleges. And so when I got the opportunity to come to City College, I came here as a Dean of Students, and I have absolutely enjoyed this ride for the last 8 years now, really getting to practice what access looks like every single day on this campus.
Tell us about the demographics at your school at San Diego City. Most people think colleges are 18 to 20. That's not the case with you, right?
That is not the case with us. We are, so one thing to note is, we're a single college and a multi-college district, which means that we have we're a district of 3 credit colleges and then one very, very large non-credit college component. Most of our students here in San Diego, if you look at our sister campuses, they get a lot of the traditional students that are coming right out of high school that are looking to either go to college and then transfer. And we have a fantastic program, which I'll maybe talk a little bit with the Promise program, which guarantees our students, 2 years of free college. But at City, our demographic is a little different. We're about 55% female, 44% male, 38% of our students are first-gen students. About 49% of our students are that 18 to 24 demographic. And the rest of that 51% are all students that are over the age of 25. So we have about 44% of our students are 25 to 49 years old. And so we've got typically a little bit older students. The diversity of our students is also something that I think is really unique about our campus. We're about 52% Latino, Latina. We're about 10% Black, 12% API, our Asian Pacific Islander population, and then 22% white, and then the other identified. So we've got a really, really rich, diverse group of students. And about 51% of our students are Pell eligible, which means that they meet that threshold to receive the federal Pell grant, which we all know that it's really for low income students. So that's kind of the demographics of our student. And I'll say about 15% of our students are military or military dependent students and families.
That's a big military town here in San Diego, and that would make a lot of sense. You also have a program for people coming out of the penal system. Is that right?
That is correct. We have a program called City Scholars. So we allow students the opportunity who are coming out of the justice system, or whether their families are justice impacted, because not all of our students are formerly incarcerated, but we have students whose families have been, their families have been really impacted by the justice system. And so we have a program called City Scholars that allows those students to be in a smaller cohort. They have a direct counselor that's involved with them. They get educational planning, they get career training and opportunities. They just recently did a program to work with the state to have folks come down and look at how to expunge their records, so that for students who were eligible for this program to be able to have their records expunged. And because we know that that's also one of the barriers for a lot of our students, either attaining jobs or obtaining jobs with above livable wages. And so this City Scholars Program is really an opportunity for students to feel like they have all of the resources that all of our other students typically talk about having, without this negative stigma of being justice impacted.
Exactly. So if you're in ages 24 to 28 or in that range, a lot of times they're looking for a new trajectory in their life. Is that what you see?
Yeah, a lot of our folks that come here are students that are either looking to change careers, looking to advance in a career, looking to explore a new interest. And so, one of the great things about the community colleges is that we don't just offer a pathway for students to get into the 4-year, but we have opportunities for students to go into careers, or again, where they can access above livable wages. We have the trades. So, we have an HVAC program, we have a machine technology program, we have nursing, we have cosmetology, we have programs that are in high demand. We are about to launch in fall of 2024 our very first cyber defense and security bachelor's degree at a community college. And so students will be able to come to a community college to earn a bachelor's degree. Now, to put that in perspective, our cost of attendance is $46 a unit. And if you compare that to a UC or a CSU, it is significantly cheaper. So for a student that's going to earn a bachelor's degree at a community college, they're probably going to end up paying about half of what it costs, if not less, than they would going to a UC or a CSU.
Well, since the COVID issue, and even pre-COVID, we were hearing a lot of graduates saying, "My God, I got to school, I got all this debt, I get a job that pays maybe $30,000. I could be a plumber. I could work in HVAC." Are you seeing that trend, that movement?
We're absolutely seeing a trend, and more of our folks that are coming to the campus looking for some of those trades that are going to put them into careers and jobs into the workforce right away. We have traditionally, because I think our students have been a little bit older, they have families. They have generations that they're taking care of, right? Some of them are taking care of mothers and fathers. They're taking care of grandparents. They're taking care of extended family. And so, the thought is never that they're not going to go to a 4-year, but right now they gotta make money to be able to take care of those. And what better way to do that than to get a career, go into one of our trade programs, earn a certificate, maybe in 18 months or 24 months, earn a certificate, and then really go out and be able to not just earn a wage, but really, and especially in San Diego, a wage that they can actually live and survive in Southern California, because we know how expensive it is to live in our community. And so we have programs that really put students in above livable wage categories once they graduate.
Outstanding. When we spoke before, one of the most important things you told me was our focus is to show students how to learn. Elaborate on that.
Yeah, so we know that when students come to us, life has already happened, right? There's been so many things that that have impacted their ability or inability to be able to come to school, whether they've had to take time off because they were impacted by the justice system, or took time off because they were raising a family, or maybe they started a career and then realized, hey, I like what I'm doing, but I don't make enough money to be able to support my family. I want to do something else. And so when they come back to college, they're sitting sometimes and I mentioned, half of our students are this 18 to 24 demographic. So they're sitting in a classroom with students that are coming right out of high school. And the first thing is that I hear from some of our students is like, do I belong here? Like, am I smart enough to come back? Like, I have students say like, I can't turn on my computer, without someone else helping me. How am I going to survive in this class? And so one of the things that we know is that if we teach students how to study, if we teach students that there is a culture to learning. And so we have a professor here on campus, Professor Rafael Alvarez, who actually has a book that he provides to many of our students on campus, and we do lots of workshops, but it's called Turning on the Lights, because he talks about that there is a learning culture that every student can be taught. It is not something that just some folks get. Every single student has the ability to succeed if we teach them and we show them that learning is something that everyone can do. Because how many of us have had, like, I'm not good at math, or I'm not good at science, but the reality is that we all could be good at those things if someone taught us how to study for that, right? And so that's not to say that all of us are going to be doctors. If we do this, that we're all going to go to medical school, we're all going to go to law school, but it does mean that we all have the ability to learn and succeed. And so that's one of the things that we try and do here at City, is to teach every student that they belong, that they matter, that there's a sense of belongingness, that we're a family and a community. We talk about what is our legacy what is the legacy that you want to build and leave for your family, or your next generation that's coming behind you. And so those are the important things. And if we can teach students to think in that way, we know that they're going to succeed. We know that they're going to complete. And completion could mean, again, completing a certificate, earning, a degree for transfer, being able to transfer, going off and doing something else, changing careers. Any of those things are all part of the completion.
Outstanding. There's an academic, Marciano, there's an academic component, and then there's a social, I have to live in the world component. And the mantra of your school is, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, you belong. Now, how do you take all these students from all these different backgrounds in these challenging economic situations that they're, how do you get them to feel they belong?
Yeah. So we talk about, to students, that we don't just use the language, you belong here. We actually make students feel like they matter. We are very intentional in everything that we do with our students to make sure that there is really a sense of belonging, that there is a sense of community on our campus. We celebrate the differences that students bring here. So, we have a strong veterans center that helps all of our veteran students, or veteran identified or affiliated students, to feel like that's a part of their community, because there's something in knowing that someone understands what it's like to be a veteran, right? There's something in being able to walk into City Scholar's office and know that there's someone who understands what it means to be justice impacted. And I don't have to keep telling that story, right? I don't have to be judged because that happened. We have a Pride Center. We have a Women's Center. We have an LGBTQ center. We have a center for first-gen students. We have some learning communities for Black and Brown students. We have a community called HUBU, which is Hermanos Unidos, Brothers United, for our Black and Brown men. We have the Emoja Scholars Program for our African American identified students. We have Puente for our Latino students. And the reason that we do some of these kind of targeted categorical programs is because we know that if students feel like they belong, if they see themselves in other people, then they're more likely to succeed. They're more likely to stay with us and be engaged. They're going to stay with us, and they're actually going to complete. And so we try and really not just talk the talk, but to really walk the walk in terms of how we engage with our students. We recently had a program where we invited parents of our students to come back to campus for a day. And students get an orientation when they come to college. Most of us, when you've gone to college, someone came and, before school started and said, this is how you sign up for classes. And these are all the resources that we have. But what often happens for our students, because of their backgrounds, is that no one, because they're first-gen students, their parents don't know what it's like when they come to college. So we actually brought the parents. We had about 500 folks that signed up and came to campus. And we had an evening where we walked the parents through what their students were experiencing. They got to hear from faculty. They got to hear from the resources that their students, and they got to walk the campus and go to different places that we have on campus. We have a planetarium on campus, and we got to show our students and their parents, hey, this is a planetarium that your students. So when students go home and talk about, like, I hung out in the library, or I had to go to financial aid today, the parents got to experience, like, well, now I know what they're talking about. Now I get a sense, because sometimes, and we know that as first-gen parents, if there's no understanding, when a student says, well, I can't do this because I'm trying to do homework, or, I got to leave early because I got to go and talk, go to financial aid and clear something up. If the parents don't have an understanding of what that's like, then it's really going to be a disservice to the student, right? Like, they may not have the support, but one of the things that we're trying to do is really show our parents that this is what your students are going to. And our also hope is that the parents then decide that maybe this is something that they want to do. We gave out scholarships to parents who signed up for a class while they were here and said, hey, if you want to come take a class, you can come here. We have ESL classes. We have a lot of folks that English isn't their first language. And so we had parents who signed up for English classes. And so we really tried to make this as something that encourages all of our families to come to campus, to be a part of it, to understand what it's like to be a part of San Diego City College.
And that is so important. I was a first-gen student also, and my parents would, what are you going to do that for? Or how come you can't do this? Or what do you mean? You don't have any time? Okay, and it was a challenge, to say the least. And what you're doing there is so instrumental in making the parents feel like, hey, this is a big deal. Getting this piece of paper that my son or my daughter is going to get is a big deal, and they put a lot of energy and effort into it. And you need to support them, parents. That's so important.
It's a sense of pride for our students, but also for their families. When we look at graduation, we always tell students, graduation isn't just about you and walking across a stage and getting a piece of paper. It's about letting your community, all those folks that are looking at you, to say, hey, you too can be here, right? Like, all of you have the opportunity to complete and to be a part of the next graduation ceremony. And so it's really a sense of pride.
It is. It's really wonderful. Now, here's something that just blows me away. You're 2 years school. So you have these kids 2 years, or maybe 3, maybe. But how do you keep this sense of community? It is. I've been on this campus, ladies and gentlemen. This is a really tight-knit operation. How do you do that when you've got this constant rotation of students?
Yeah, we tell students that when you're city for life, and so and we mean that. We have a lot of our students that will complete their associates here, their certificates, and then come back and work with us. They'll go and transfer, and then come back and teach here. We have a lot of faculty who were former City College alum, and that's something for our students when they're sitting in a classroom and they see that the person that is their instructor looks like them, went to the same school as them. They can say, hey, if they can do this, I can do this too. And so there's a real sense of pride about our alum. When you look at who's working here at City, a lot of folks that are working on our campus were former students or work studies, had some connection to the campus before they started working. And that, again, is just, I think, speaks to the feelings that folks have about this place. So this place is special. It is a place where we don't just talk about family, but we really feel like a college family. And much like family, you don't get to choose the people in your family, but you love them and you appreciate them, and we take care of each other. In particular, being downtown, being a really urban campus, there's a lot of need for us to kind of look out for each other. And you see that here, and you feel it with our students and our faculty and classified professionals.
It's an amazing environment, ladies and gentlemen. If you get a chance to come to San Diego, you want to meet him and you want to see this school. Now, Marciano, you mentioned this earlier. Let's touch on this. California is a program, promise program, and students who are eligible can attend 2 years for free. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
Now, there's some factions who argue and constantly argue, well, what's the value of free? Why are they getting it free? How do you address that?
Yeah, I look at our promise program as, well, again, when we talk about access, right? We're talking about who has the opportunity to take part in some of these things. So our Promise program, is a state program, but there's a district component to it. So we've expanded our Promise program to include other groups that were not originally included in the state program. But it essentially says that any new student or coming back to campus for the first time after a certain period of time can qualify for up to 2 years of free tuition. It also includes, services like books, in some cases, laptops. Today, I got an email. We have a large number of our Promise students that are going to get brand new laptops. So this is about being able to have the tools to be able to complete, right? It's hard to go to school if you don't have a computer, so you can write a paper or access the internet to get on Canvas and submit an assignment. And so we're really giving students the tools to be successful. Now, when we think about who is on our Promise program, you have to think about poverty, right? And who didn't have. I think about myself growing up, and I was given an opportunity to go to a small private liberal arts college because I had a scholarship to go there. And I think about, if that scholarship had not been given to me, would I have been able to go to the school that I went to? Would I have received the education that I received? And would I be able to be in the space that I'm in today? And the answer for me is no. I don't think that I would have been able to do those things. And so I don't look at our Promise program as a free program. I look at it as a way to break cycles of poverty, right? It helps, it gives our students opportunities who may not have had the opportunity to come to college, to be able to get a degree, to be able to go into a livable wage career, to be able to help their family, to take the burden of paying for school away from a parent who's already paying for other things, right? And so that's what I see the Promise program provides to our students. So, I tell folks, there's nothing free about it, because the students have to work to stay in the program. They got to be enrolled full time. They've got to complete classes. There's a community service requirement that's associated with it. They have to attend workshops to be a part of this program. They have to check in with their counselor to be a part of this program. So we really have built in all of these things where the students, and they're all really intentional interventions, because we want the students to feel like, hey, when you're a part of this program, again, you're a part of a family, another community. But at the end of the day, that you can do this. You're going to learn, you're going to complete, and you're going to go off and do something great, whatever that is. And they get to identify what that ultimate goal is for themselves, whether it's transferring or getting some kind of certificate.
My youngest daughter has a master's degree in sociology, and I was talking to her about this, and she says it makes me so angry, Dad, when people say this is free, because when you break the cycle of poverty, that means there's less need for social services, for welfare services. And nobody wants to be on welfare. Nobody grows up and says, I want to be on government aid. They don't.
Yep.
And when you provide an opportunity like you have at this school, and students can come in, regardless of age, regardless of their background, and they can break that cycle, everybody benefits.
Everyone wins. Everyone wins. We have to remind ourselves that we have a responsibility to make sure that this generation of students that we have here on our campus, that they have the opportunities that maybe sometimes we didn't have, right? We have folks that say, well, if I didn't have it, no one else should have it. But the reality is that if I didn't have it, that doesn't mean that someone else shouldn't have it. I should be grateful that I'm now in a position where I could give someone else that opportunity. This is how we change lives. This is how we break those cycles, is that we stop focusing on what we're giving someone and really thinking about what access are we opening, what doors are we opening for folks to be able to, because again, they still have to do the work. There's nothing free about it. Like, there's still work that has to be done. And these are folks that absolutely want to put in the work and are committed to changing their lives and the lives of their families.
And as you mentioned earlier, many of these people have a full-time job. They may be parents, and that, as you think of college, well, you're in this class from here to here. No, they're not. It's beyond a full-time job. It's a full-time job at school, plus the job they have, plus the family.
Exactly.
So they definitely earn it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, this has been enlightening. I love talking to you. I love hearing your program. We're just about out of time. What last thoughts do you want to leave with the viewers around the world?
I just want to say that I have what I would consider the best job on the planet. I am absolutely lucky and blessed to be able to work with students every single day. My job allows me the opportunity to really see how education opens doors for not just an individual student, but for their families. It gives me the opportunity to be able to really change the trajectory of students' lives. And I get to see that every single day. One of the beautiful things about community college is that unlike our other 4-year institutions, is that there's no minimum GPA to get into this college. There's no, you have to pass an SAT or an ACT score in order to do that. Anyone who has a passion to learn, anyone who wants to change their life can literally walk in off the street and say, I want to go to school. How do I do that? And we have a center here that helps students do that. But this is how we start to change people's lives, is we give them the opportunity to say, you start with one class and then you figure out what you want to do. And anyone and everyone is welcome here, regardless of your socioeconomic status, regardless of what your past has been, what your military service has been or not been. Everyone is welcome. And that to me is the beauty of the community college, and why I think this place is so special.
That's amazing. You said to me when we were talking, these are not handouts, they are hands up, hand up. We're reaching, we're helping people rise.
Absolutely.
How do people get a hold of you? How do they reach you? How do they reach the college?
Yeah, so you want to Google San Diego City College, you'll come up to our San Diego City College website. We have a fantastic website that has information with all of the, like, how to apply. Also has contact information for all of the folks in our different various departments, student services departments. My email is Perez, Perez, at sdccd.edu. And so you can always email me directly, and I'm happy to connect you with anyone on our team to provide information that you might want.
That's outstanding. Well, as I said, we're just about out of time. I want to thank my guest here, Marciano Perez. Wow, this is amazing. He shows that there's real social, cultural, and economic value to community colleges. It's not just a cheap way to do 2 years of school. This is bringing a great deal. We are changing lives at this school. Now you can see this podcast on my Life Altering and my Life Altering Event podcast. You can also see it on the YouTube channel, on Parade Deck, and on any number of other locations. I will send links to Marciano, and he'll put it out everywhere he puts his information in the world. If you see it on YouTube, my YouTube channel, which is also called Frank Zaccari, please subscribe. Now let me leave you with this. None of us are in this alone. And the secret to walking on water is to know where the rocks are. And today, Marciano showed us where many, many of those rocks are. Join me again next week. We're going to discuss another life-altering event. Marciano, thank you so much.
It was a pleasure being here. Thank you all.